This was my first time playing Jak and Daxter, and to be honest, it was really not fun, but I also think it's a great game, but I also wouldn't recommend it. It's a little confusing, let me explain. So Jak and Daxter actually is not a launch title, but doing some research about it, it feels like some people think that. Maybe. It was released in late 2001, almost 2 years after the launch of the PS2. Now maybe I'm projecting because I thought it was a launch title. Anyway, the point is, I finally played it, beat the entire thing. Anyway, there won't be any story spoilers here, so let's get started.
Step 1, stay alive. Step 2, think about not doing something like that again!
Of course, this is a Naughty Dog game, and unless you've been living under a rock, which, given the state of the world, do you have room for one more? Anyway, you might be aware that these guys are best known for Uncharted and Last of Us, but before even Jak, they were known for Crash Bandicoot, which raises the question, what's a Bandicoot? Anyway, you can see a lot of Naughty Dog DNA in all of their games, especially the emphasis on animation and art. On YouTube, you can find a 20-minute long documentary on the making of Jak and Daxter, where Naughty Dog admit they made the character art before even a name for the characters or a story. The story's bad, by the way. I'll be blunt and pull the band-aid off now. Watching the behind the scenes, they really only seemed interested in animating, drawing and renders, and gameplay. And I also think this won't come as a shock to anyone who's played it. They didn't seem to care too much about making a story, which I think is understandable given the state of platformers at the time. What 90s 3D platformers can you think of that put a lot of effort into the story? I guess Conker's Bad Fur Day sticks out to me, but that game was largely beloved because of that reason. What else? I struggle to think of much. So yeah, I'm not about to crucify Naughty Dog over it, though it is ironic that their entire bread and butter now is story. For the story, the long and short of it is, Jak and Daxter are slightly mischievous kids who end up going to an island they're not supposed to. Daxter suffers a fate worse than death by being turned into a furry.
We shouldn't have come here, and you listened! What? Okay, I'm fine.
This happens because while on the island, they see two mysterious figures giving orders to their underlings, referred to as lurkers. They seem to be searching for eco and precursor artifacts. Jak trips over one of these artifacts just as a lurker finds them. He throws it at the lurker, but accidentally knocks Daxter into a pool of dark eco, which transforms him into a rat weasel thing. It's not explained why this happens in game, but I'm assuming it does in the later games. Worth noting, I've never played them, this is my first time playing a Jak game whatsoever. So what are precursors? Well, a sage called Samos, I think is his name. I think he explains in the prologue that no one really knows. They were the earlier inhabitants of the world, but we don't know much about them, only that they created amazingly powerful artifacts and utilized the mysterious energy force called eco. Like the colored markers I sniffed in school, there's all kinds of colorful eco. They have different properties you'll learn about through playing the game. There's blue eco, yellow eco, and even dark eco, which feels a little racist. Anyway, this Samos mage guy talks about how he knows this because he's talked to the trees and the rocks.
I have asked the plants, but they do not remember. The plants have asked the rocks, but the rocks do not recall.
Sounds like I'm not the only one who sniffed markers as a kid. So Jak and Daxter escape the island and ask Samos for help. He berates them, which fair, and says while he can't help, there is another sage on the northern end of the island who might, but to get to him, we need to travel through the entire island. You don't really explore too much of the world in Jak and Daxter, but from what you do see, we can infer that we live on a tropical island, along with about 10 other people. There's the sage I mentioned earlier, Jak and Daxter, who are brothers, or just friends? I don't know, I'm not sure yet. And there's some villagers you can chat with as well. One of the first things you'll notice is how great the voice acting is.
Now this. See those gears up there, boys? See them? See how they're not moving? That means our village has no power. The eco beam coming from the jungle temple has been interrupted. And boys, everyone's too frightened to go out and find out what's happened.
Did you pay the bill?
Yeah. Oh, you're funny.
It's not just a case of hiring professional Hollywood actors. The voices here are all perfectly fitting to the character that's on screen. And for a game as old as this one, I think that's exceptional. The production values all over feel sky high, even though I don't think they were. Jak and Daxter isn't some indie game, of course, but it does punch above its weight class.
Hey! It looks like the Blue Sage threw a party.
Oh my! Rock Village is on fire!
One heck of a party.
No, I mean Rock Village is being bombarded with flaming boulders!
You can see this in the graphics and animations as well. They go together, so I gotta talk about them together. The game has this super pretty, cartoony look to it. Every movement is exaggerated, better than most cartoons, which it's clearly inspired by. Jak can run, jump, double jump, punch, roll, high jump, spin, swim, and shimmy, and all of these are accompanied by superb animations. The downside to this is it can feel a little floaty or imprecise, since priority is given to the animation rather than the gameplay. Jak's character model doesn't have an easy to discern silhouette, so it's a little tough gauging distance, speed, and just general important platformer info. The flip side is the game never really asks too much from you. One of the huge downsides to the gameplay is its low skill ceiling. That's fine if you're fine with it, of course. I know I am, since I'm not a huge platformer fan anyway, but if you're looking for something as deep as Mario 64, you're gonna be disappointed. Ironically, Naughty Dog name-dropped Mario 64 as a direct inspiration. I do think they beat it in some ways, but fell short in others. So if you do play Jak 1 and haven't before, just keep in mind this isn't a challenging game, and there's not much in the way of optional objectives or secrets for you. You can use your spin attack to stay in the air a tad longer, and you can do a high jump after a roll, but there's not really any other combos to discover. The combat in general is pretty terrible. I'm a huge action fan, so I think it hit me harder. I especially love the early Ratchet & Clank games, and I do admit I'm biased, but even the first Ratchet game has combat that is so far and above this first Jak game. Not just the combat, but I'd also argue the tools and level design too. You're revisiting planets in that game, finding gadgets that open up new parts of the level. Jak really doesn't have any of that. You start with everything you'll ever have. The major gameplay changes come in the form of a hover bike you can use in specific sections, a bird-like creature that does the same, and the ecosystem. So around the world, you'll find these pools of eco. Depending on the color, they'll grant a different power. But almost always, this is a speed boost or the ability to throw homing projectiles. There's nothing particularly interesting like stopping time or movement abilities other than speed. You'll often use eco to power platforms in the game world, but it also helps collecting things in the world too. Your main goal in the entire game is to collect as many Precursor artifacts as possible. You find them by completing challenges. The world is split into these zones, and each zone has about 4 to 8 unique objectives for you to complete. Complete the objective and you get a Precursor artifact. Now, some of these are repeated, like collect all the flyer robots for your mechanic girl, but a lot are unique to that zone. The first zone, each villager asks you for Precursor orbs. Bring enough to them and they'll give you an artifact. Another villager asks that you herd his animal dudes into their pen. Another challenges you to a fishing game, and of course if you beat a boss, you'll also get another artifact. So why do you need these artifacts? Well, there's always some wall in your way, stopping you from progressing to the next zone. Of course, this is a metaphorical wall. In-game, it'll be like the mechanic girl needs them so she can fix the hover bike, so you can get across a volcano. So if you get orbs and complete challenges to get artifacts, you use these artifacts to unlock new zones, rinse and repeat. There's also almost always 2 or 3 zones for you to explore, so you're never stuck collecting artifacts in a zone you don't like. And even better, you don't need all the artifacts to unlock the next zone. You only need like 70%. so you can collect what you need, progress, then looking back, you'll have like 6 potential zones or levels for you to get more artifacts from. This keeps the older zones open as a potential option for you. It gives you a reason to revisit these older levels. There's no added gameplay reason why, like a Metroidvania or even a Ratchet & Clank game. You're never using new abilities to explore more of those levels, but still, I notice it and appreciate it. I also hugely appreciate that the pause menu spells it all out for you. It tells you exactly how many collectibles you have, how many you're missing in that specific level, and what objectives you need to complete to get those artifacts. I love this so much. My biggest gripe in any video game is being lost. I get lost so much in games, I can't stand it. A good example is I haven't beaten a Dark Souls game, not because of the difficulty, but because I simply don't know where to go. I have a horrible sense of direction, and I cannot stand aimlessly wandering around looking for that stupid final collectible, so thank you, Jak and Daxter, for sparing me.
Wait a minute! We are not going back to Misty Island!
As for enemies, the lurkers are the main baddies you'll run into. There's a few different types, but essentially you just spin attack or punch them and that's that. There's a couple guys at the end who you need to use eco to kill or kinda get behind them, but they're only in like 2 zones, so yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Don't play Jak for the combat. The game's main gameplay focus is the platforming, and I strongly feel it's not that great when compared to games like Prince of Persia, Ratchet & Clank, and Klonoa anyway. It ain't bad platforming, but platformers got that shit on lock, even in the 90s and 2000s. So if you want to compete, you gotta bring a high but optional skill ceiling and precision, which Jak does not have. It's more like iNinja or Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, which again, those aren't bad games, they're just not A tier. I think when a lot of people reminisce about Jak 1 and why they love it so much, and correct me if you're one of those people and you feel that I'm wrong, but I think they're remembering mainly the graphics and lovable characters, the fun and easy gameplay, and that this was one of your first 3D platformers on a new, powerful console. And there's nothing wrong with that, I just think it's good to put things in context. It's a more accurate kind of love. Now that I've gotten the gripes out of the way, I do want to talk about the amazing things this game does, and it's not a small list.
I'm like, stretcher! Yuck. That's mint.
So this is one of the first games I've experienced this old that actually has a full day-night cycle. Why? No idea. Does it affect the gameplay? Absolutely not. Do I think it was a waste of resources? Yes. It's super cool, don't get me wrong, but also why? Wow factor for sure, but also why? The first time I noticed it, I was like, really? That's insanely cool. No idea why it's in the game, but yeah, you'll notice the sun moving and then night comes. I somehow was never spoiled on this before playing, which I'm very happy about, by the way. It felt like a Kojima moment. The other technology related thing is the open world. So it's not really an open world game, but it is way more open world than you'd think. You can travel basically all of the game without a single loading screen. I didn't really take notes, but I'm hard pressed to think of any loading screens at all. This does affect the gameplay, of course, not in any huge way, but it makes the game feel much smoother and immersive. There are a couple times where the loading screen is obviously hidden behind an animation or an elevator ride, but still, for 2001, that's friggin' awesome. I also need to just briefly point out that all the zones are super varied and awesome. I mentioned them earlier, but yeah, you have the lava world, ice world, tropical world, cave world. The game always has you exploring some new place that doesn't look like anywhere else you've been. You love to see it, literally. But the real selling point of Jak 1 are the characters. They steal the show. Jak is mute, which I hate in games. I need to try role-playing, I guess, but yeah. This is a platformer. Why is the protagonist mute? Anyway, everyone else is great, but Daxter is the best character, and he has the most lines.
You finally come to rescue. Do you know how long I've been in here? What took you so long? And what are your names?
I'm Daxter. He's Jak. He's with me.
Good job, Daxter. You're a real hero.
He acts as the comic relief, but he's never annoying. He acts annoying, but he's not annoying. which is a really hard line to walk, so kudos for that. He screeches about stuff, wants the affection of the mechanically inclined girl who helps you out.
Now be careful. The shield will only protect your zoomer till it reaches 500 degrees, so try to keep her cool. Flying over open lava will definitely heat you up fast. Hit 500 degrees and it's over.
Over? Like burning molten metal over?
And every time you die, he gives a short little monologue. It's very endearing, and not only can I see kids loving this, but I liked it even as an adult. So why not recommend this game? Well, like I said, it doesn't do anything particularly unique. At the time, it was an easy recommendation, but now? No. Even confined to the PS2, there's dozens of better platformers. I haven't even played them yet, but I bet this isn't even nearly the best Jak Daxter game. I can only really recommend it if you're really hard up for a 3D platformer that has to be on the PS2 and you just haven't played this one yet. Or of course, if you're a fan of the series and haven't played the first game in forever. In that case, it's aged wonderfully. I was curious while making this video, so I checked out some similar videos about the game to see how they felt. And although almost everyone recommends it, they never really say why, other than it's a great game, which I disagree with slightly. But more so, there's so many great 3D platformers even on the PS2, so why this one?
While you're down there, you're at my feet.
What does this game do that others don't? In my experience, nothing. Compared to other games and even other games in the Jak series, I'm betting, I don't see why you'd play this one unless you're desperate for something new to play and have 5 or so hours to kill. That kind of came off harsher than I expected. Anyway, if you got a PS2 game you want me to make a video on, let me know in the comments. Or maybe I should go straight to Jak 2. Curious what y'all think. And of course, if you made it this far, please like and subscribe, not only because it helps the algorithm and all that nonsense, but it genuinely helps me gauge if this is the type of videos y'all want to see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.
Ah, who cares?